Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for watching, and we're going to do a quick supply and demand trading recap from today, December 21st. So just some market context for the day. There was news over the weekend of the mRNA vaccine being approved for FDA approval, and then there was the COVID strain found in the UK as well as Britain having travel bans and shutdowns. So the market initially at open yesterday, Sunday, spiked and um, spiked. Sorry. Spiked and then dropped overnight with that news, and then had gapped down a considerable amount to open the market, and then we ended up rallying throughout the day. But we're going to look at some trades specifically, one that I took in Uber, as well as one in the ES futures, as well as in Palantir, and just go over some of those and look at the supply and demand strategy and how that would have worked playing those off those zones. So without any ado, we'll get into that. And if you find any of this helpful, please like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. And please let me know if there's any other content that you would like me to include on any future videos, and I will be happy to do so. So let's get into Thinkorswim. So we'll look here first looking at Uber. So we had two zones that we were looking at. So this daily zone, if we go back and look on the daily chart and zoom in here, we can see we formed this base right here, followed by this large rally back on December 2nd. So we'd rallied from here all the way up to the all-time highs of 56, and then we've been trading down, coming back down until Friday, where we hit this demand zone below $50 in our daily demand, and then from that, looking for a supply zone. So the goal was to take this long in this $50 range, and then looking for our next supply zone to look to take profits in. So if we look on 2 hours where that zone was found, we'll look here. So we have our basing candle here, followed by our drop, and then we dropped all the way from here. So this created our 2-hour supply here. Also note that we had some key levels here around 51.36, 52.33, and then 52.73, looking back over all the periods of time, looking mainly on the hour time frame to get those levels. And we can see particularly that these two zones were holding as support or resistance even in the past. This was holding here, and then we dropped below, and then was holding this zone for a bit, and then we dropped below, and then that was acting as a resistance until we finally popped above it, and then this acted as resistance today. So we'll get into the actual trade that I took on this. So I was in on Friday in this. So on looking at Friday, just into the market open. So we had rallied, and then we started pulling back. So we almost hit the zone here, and then rallied up again, and then dropped back down. Then we lowered, hit the bottom here, and then we rallied up, and then we were kind of holding above this 50 zone. So I didn't take the trade, ended up taking it here. I missed it and didn't want to chase it out of the zone. Was more looking for a retest, and then we end up here. So then we created a lower high, so end up charting from that here, and was looking for us to make a lower high before getting into the play. And I believe I got in around 11:10 ish. think I got in back here. So created this, just charted this from, we created that high and then we hit this high. So then we had this zone here that we had, and then was initially, so that acted as resistance, and then got in, I believe around 11:10 in the $50 strike. So just one out of the money for $1.09. We'll look at the actual contract in a minute. But then we made a higher low here again. So that was the confirmation with the stop when I got in here. Was this low of 49.50, I believe, was my stop. So even though we had a larger zone all the way down to 48.50, I believe, I wasn't going to play that full zone. If we did break this low, then that would be my exit, and my stop would be there. So risking only about 40 cents was the gain, with our upside potential targeting this 2-hour supply at $52. So we had over a $2 move up compared to a 40-cent move down. So that was good risk reward. So then looking at this on Friday, we had bounced here, got in here, and we were continuing to make lower highs until we eventually broke out of this triangle, and then we were holding above $50 as support throughout the day on Friday, and then rallied into the close. Ended up being up about 20% on Friday, and was holding that, expecting a gap up on today on Monday, which we did not have. And then as you can see, we gapped down to 48.79 was our low. So we opened around 49. And then we had dropped down as low as 48.79. I was down, I think it ended up being as low as 56 cents. So not quite, not quite down 50%, down about 40%, but was still holding because we were holding within this demand zone and didn't want to do any rash moves being here in demand. And we then rallied off this in the first 5 minutes. So then we continued to stay in this demand zone. We had hit the $50 level, then we pulled back slightly, still making a higher low, and then from there we end up rallying out of that $50 zone, and then we continued to trade. Here was our next level that we were looking at, 51.36, which then we broke above, and then that was holding as support, and then we just barely broke below it. So was looking to potentially sell here if we couldn't hold this key level, and then we got this huge volume spike, which was as high as the opening 5-minute candle. So that was extra confirmation, and we almost tagged our supply here. So that was my target, was at least to get to 52.12. So then I was hesitant and had raised my stop to this level, 51.35 level. If we couldn't hold that, then I would get out. We ended up rallying again, and I believe I got out at this candle right around here, and then we end up hitting resistance here at this 52.33 level, almost to the T. We got to 52.35, so, and then we fell and then couldn't get above that level again. So looking at the actual trade on the chart, let's just look at this. So this is the actual chart for the play. So I have it highlighted where I got in. So got in around here at $1.09. So we ended up falling to about 99 cents, I believe, was our low on Friday once I got in. And then we ended up getting down to 56 cents here at the open today, Monday. And then from there, we ended up rallying, and I was the only contract, I believe, that sold here at 240 for a 120% gain. And then I think the high was 254, was at the highest candle or highest contract sold today. So missed out on about $14, but was a good exit once we hit supply. So I was targeting that area and was comfortable making over 120% to get out at that point. And then we end up not reaching a new high after that. So we got close to 240 again here. But so that was a good trade, using supply going from daily demand to 2-hour supply. And now we will look at the ES future. So zoom out. So looking here, so overnight we formed 2-hour supply here, as well as a small 45-minute supply here. So if we look at 2 hours, you can see that zone right here. We had this base here and then this drop here, followed by large drop. And then we also had a 45-minute, a very small 45-minute window right here. Just this small base here, and then this drop was the only other supply zone that could find from this drop pre-market. So then coming into that, if we look on the 30-minute time frame, you can see I was trying to find a demand zone from this drop, and then when we rallied, so it wasn't the strongest demand zone here, but it was the best one that I could find that would cover us, have a red basing candle followed by a green rally, which ended up holding as a great entry point. I think there was some like hour time frame. If you go all the way back to like November, yeah, you can get like around here, I believe you can get some hour time frame. So there's some others, but was looking here on this 30-minute time frame. So had that plotted before the market opened, and then was also looking at this here, making this triangle here. So we couldn't get above this pre-market, so we were bouncing, hit, and drop, but we were holding this trend line, and then we finally broke right at market open, and then we rejected and pulled back within 30 minutes of open, and then we pretty much hit it, almost double bottomed in this demand zone. So this would have been a great entry here. You could have had anywhere, so you could have gotten here, probably a good entry would be here on the retest, and you could have had your stop below the low of the day, which would have been like a 2-point move, so barely anything. So it'll be a low risk reward or low risk trade, and you could be end up targeting that 45-minute supply, which we end up hitting. So it was a rally from 327-ish to 336.92. So about a 60-point rally. So I think SPY contracts were up like over 200 or 300% from there. So you could have used that as a perfect entry. And then we end up hitting, just barely breaking out of this 45-minute supply. But that was our peak area. So if you targeted this area, you could have gotten a perfect exit right there and even gotten into puts if you wanted for a quick little drop from there as well. So that was a great trade going from supply to demand here as well. And then lastly, we'll look at Palantir. So on this, I had it charted on a one-on-one session I had yesterday. Just looking at it on the 4-hour. So we had this trend line that we were using as resistance here. So if we broke above this, then we could use that as that we were bullish. And then we also had we had resistance here at this level, these candles, and then we had resistance here at these candles as well. So those are our different zones looking for. And then also we had formed this 45 minutes demand zone at this support level around 55.10. So if we look on the 45 minute, you can see that zone right here. So we had this red basing candle followed by this green pop. So usually you want to see your pop at least be an engulfing candle going over what the red basing candle was before. So we had this zone from Wednesday at market open. Yep, or we're a little after 10:15ish. We had that demand zone created, and then we ended up pulling back on Monday. We opened and rallied, rejected this trend line that we had and this resistance level here, pulled back into this demand zone here. So if we look at the smaller time frame on a 5-minute, you can see that here we dropped here. Perfect entry here. You get volume confirmation. We hit down here and buyers bought it right back up. So probably anywhere in here, this next candle would be a good confirmation with your stop below the low of this day or low of this candle here. So risking 25.40 and you got in around 25.70. So you have about a 30-cent risk. You could target the high of the day to start scaling out. You could target these resistance levels. Would be your target. I personally didn't get in this, but I was watching it. But I personally probably would have targeted around this 28.20 area as my target that I would have looked at. But you can see here from these candles here, once we broke above that, we just blew right through this support or resistance level and the high day break. And then here we kind of struggled here on these candles, so probably would have ended up getting out somewhere around here. But those were up over 100%. I ended up paper trading some of those, and they were up over 180% out of this zone for the 26 strike. But that's another one that we went to. There likely is some other demand zones or supply zones up here, but we've been choppy the last few weeks on Palantir, but we still have this 45-minute supply zone at 29.36 that acted as our drop from there. But that'll be it for this video. Let me know if there's any other stocks or anything that you'd like me to cover in the future, and we can go over and chart those. One other thing I did want to mention, a quick hack if you are doing supply and demand on your settings on your snap drawing tools. If you select the OHLC as your drawing, then if you're like on the price level, anywhere you click on the candle, it'll put the price at the open of the candle, which is what you want as your price level for your supply and demand here for your price level, as well as if you're doing any drawings for your zones. So if you click, it'll put it right in the middle from the open, the top of the wick of the candle. so you can do your zones perfectly and get those in. So that's a quick hack that will be helpful for charting your supply and demand zones that I've found from some other people. So if you find anything helpful or useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Thank you.